Hey, welcome back to the channel for my second video in a row, this time ranking the entire Evil Dead franchise. If you missed my video yesterday reviewing the newest one, the sixth one, Evil Dead Burn, directed by Sebastian Vanacek, please check it out. Link should be up here or somewhere around here, maybe at the end of the video too. Yeah, I figured it was a good time to rank the entire Evil Dead franchise, given, the occasion, and just because I love the Evil Dead, never a bad time to talk about it. So yeah, 6 movies across 45 years, starting with the original Evil Dead in 81. Did the whole trilogy between 81 and 92 with Evil Dead 2, which was much more horror comedy, of course, known for that, one of the best horror comedies of all time. And then Army of Darkness in 92, which was pretty much full-on comedy. And then, we had 20-year gap or so, and then we got Fede Alvarez's 2013 remake, which was a lot better than a lot of people expected it to be, myself included. I think it's awesome. I love it. 2023, Evil Dead Rise, Lee Cronin, who just came out with The Mummy, which is kind of an Evil Dead movie, but we're not going to talk about it, partially because it's not that good. And then this weekend, Sebastian Vanacek's Evil Dead Burn. So I love all these movies. I mean, ranking them is like ranking candy bars. Saying this is the worst is like saying this is the worst, I don't know, Beatles album or something. Like, they're all good, but, by definition, worst is just not as good as the ones above it. But they're all good. So just keep that in mind. And also spoilers. And if you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. Let me know if you agree or disagree with my ranking as we get into it. And yeah, let's just get into it. So number 6, again, still love this movie, but it's the weakest to me, even if it's just by like a hair, is 2023's Evil Dead Rise. I really like that they moved it out of the cabin setting. Aside from Army of Darkness, this is the first one to move away from the cabin setting. Obviously, it's in a high-rise. And a lot of people seem to not like this one. I'm not quite sure why. Like, the only issue I have with it, it's not even really an issue, but like one criticism, doesn't really detract too much for me, but it's a disappointment to a degree, is that it's not as brutal as the other ones. It's not as violent. I definitely don't think it's as sadistic and mean and shocking as 2013. If it wasn't an Evil Dead movie, it would still be considered really violent. It'd be one of the more violent movies of that year. But as an Evil Dead movie, it kind of pulls its punches a little bit. Everybody talks about the cheese grater scene, and that's definitely fucked up, but that doesn't go as far as I thought it could. There's some wonky CGI with like the glass going in the daughter's throat when she gets possessed. She becomes a Deadite. So, I mean, that's a criticism. But other than that, I think the main Deadite, Ellie, the mother, is fantastic. She's creepy. She's kind of funny because, again, Evil Dead Rise goes back to a little bit more of the comedic side of Evil Dead 2. Not so much to like Army of Darkness, but Evil Dead 2, it's a little more horror comedy than 2013. Really like that, especially the scene where the mother's in the hallway, like taunting people, and she's walking back and forth as her neighbors are walking back and forth. Somebody gets like an eyeball in their mouth. Good callback to Evil Dead 2 with that. So, some people prefer others over this, as I do, but it's the worst of the Evil Dead movies. It's still a kick-ass movie. The ending is really awesome with like the showdown in the parking lot. The relationship between Beth, the aunt, and her sister is, it's interesting. Got a little bit of like emotion to that. Obviously, when she becomes the caregiver for the daughter, the youngest daughter, because it's just the two of them left, that kind of gets you more invested. And then obviously the opening is awesome, especially the title card. It has like the best title card drop of the whole series for sure. With, I think, Jessica, after she massacres like her friends at the lake, rises up, and like the title card Evil Dead Rise comes up. It's awesome. It's cool. And then to show that like the movie's actually kind of a prequel to that scene because it comes back to that at the end is pretty cool too. So not much negative to say about the worst, quote unquote, worst Evil Dead movie. Evil Dead Rise is awesome. Moving on to number 5 is the new one, Evil Dead Burn. I like this one because I do think there's a little more emotion to it, a little more story maybe than any of the other ones, with the main character's husband being abusive, and we learn more about the abuse as the movie goes on. And then, not really a spoiler because you should have seen it already, but it's also, the premise of the movie is that her husband dies. And then the rest of the movie is that she has to kind of bury him and mourn him with her in-laws who don't like her. Like her brother-in-law, her younger brother, he seems okay with her. He's kind of like the co-protagonist. But the parents don't like her. The grandmother doesn't like her. And so she's dealing with a lot of shit before the Deadites even take over. So you kind of like empathize with her from the get-go. You almost kind of don't like the other characters before some of them, or maybe all of them, get possessed. So it already kind of has you invested. The camera work, as usual, is great, as you'd expect from an Evil Dead movie. Like, it definitely feels like it's paying homage to Sam Raimi, and that's, you know, what made Sam Raimi famous was his camera work. That's what elevated the Evil Dead stuff to begin with. Even Roger Ebert said when he reviewed Evil Dead 2, you know, this isn't my kind of movie, but the camera work here is fantastic. Camera work in Evil Dead Burn's fantastic. And for better or worse, I think this is where people are maybe divided, is that it is the meanest one. Like, it's not necessarily the most violent or gory or graphic or disgusting, but it's definitely the meanest since at least the original, if not even more than that. And Evil Dead 2013, you know, is also up there as the meanest. There's not a lot of humor in that one either. This one I think is even less funny. Like, not in a negative. It's just there's no like levity in this. The grandmother makes some jokes, the same kind of joke, but it kind of gets old after like the fourth or fifth time she makes the same joke about one of the other characters being a thief. It's like, all right, okay, it's fine. But, you know, that's such a minor criticism. It doesn't really take away from it, I don't think. And I do appreciate how fucked up it gets. Like, it is relentless. There's even some animal violence, which, you know, I don't mind because it's an Evil Dead movie. It's a horror movie. It's going for the jugular. Like, it's going to have the violence in there. You're not going to care about that. Like, you know, hurt children, hurt babies, hurt animals. It's the Evil Dead. Like, they're evil. They're dead and they're evil. So, you know, I don't think it's a criticism that a dog gets hurt and then the dog comes back as, I think, the first animal deadite in the series. Could be wrong, but I think that's what it is. That's pretty cool too. Yeah, I appreciate how hard it goes. It's relentless. The scene in the car, which is in the trailers, but again, if you've seen the movie, which you should have if you're here, you know, it's a little more action centric. Again, it kind of like, this one kind of goes into the French extremity movement of like, it's not to the degree of like Martyrs or Inside or Irreversible or Frontiers or anything like that, but it's closer than some of the other Evil Dead movies for sure. It definitely is reminiscent of those. But that's what I appreciate about it. And I don't have a lot of, you know, I don't have much negative to say about it. It's great. It's awesome. So that's my number 5 is the new one, Evil Dead Burn. And then number 4, and this is where I might get in some trouble, but it's my list, and, you know, it is what it is the original Evil Dead. Again, groundbreaking movie. It's still an awesome movie, still a scary movie, still an inspirational movie for young filmmakers, of course, and anybody doing like cabin in the woods horror. You got to respect it. But I do think some of it hasn't aged as well. Obviously, like, the special effects don't look the best, especially by today's standards. You know, there's a charm to that. There's a charm to the DIY. Let's just get a bunch of us together with a little bit of ingenuity, a little bit of budget, a little bit of filmmaking knowledge, and see what we can make. You know, absolutely, it's awesome. Still holds up. Still love it. But obviously I like the other ones more, the ones above it. And yeah, I don't know if there's not much else to say about Evil Dead 1981. Like, it is what it is. People have talked about it. It's awesome. I think it's the worst of the original trilogy. I don't think that's an unpopular opinion. But still, it's awesome. So, you know, not much more to say. My number 3 might also get me in some trouble, and that's Army of Darkness from '92, the end of the original trilogy, which I think it was originally going to be called Army of the Evil Dead or something like that. You know, correct me if I'm wrong. It just became Army of Darkness, and it's much more of that slapstick, like Three Stooges, Ray Harryhausen kind of fantasy, a little bit of fantasy, a little bit of stop motion. So, like, horror purists, people who love the first 2 Evil Deads, may not like it as much, depending on who you are, because it's not scary. It doesn't try to be scary. But what it does do in terms of the comedy, the ridiculousness of it, the kind of playing into Ash as like the slapstick, lovable, machismo guy, it's great. Bruce Campbell is great as that character. I think he's the best as that character, maybe in Army of Darkness. He fully plays into like the not sex symbol, but like the seductive like man that the woman, you know, the love interest can't keep her hands off of. He says, like, give me some sugar when he kisses her. Totally stupid and cheesy, but that's why we love Ash as a character. And yeah, lots of great like scenes. Obviously, like the eyeball coming out of his shoulder and then becoming the head and then it dividing and him becoming Evil Ash, and Evil Ash leading the Army of Darkness. You know, the third act is awesome. Danny Elfman's score is awesome. Again, the Ray Harryhausen stop motion stuff is awesome. Not to keep saying awesome. So yeah, I mean, again, Army of Darkness is some people's favorite, not my favorite, but my favorite of, I guess, compared to like Evil Dead, it's above that for me at least. Because obviously I didn't mention Evil Dead 2 yet. You can guess where that's landing, I guess, already. So Army of Darkness is pretty sweet. And you know, it's maybe one of the more rewatchable ones. I really like the alternative ending or the discarded ending where he goes to sleep. Something about him going to sleep for like centuries and he wakes up in way in the future and he's like, oh no, I went too far, and it's a cool kind of cliffhanger joke. So I mean, what's not to love about Army of Darkness? You get so many great lines like, this is my boomstick, shop smart, S smart, primitive screwheads. So many quotable lines from Ash in it. Maybe the most quotable from Ash in the whole trilogy, original trilogy. So Army of Darkness is my number 3. It's great. Number 2, maybe also controversial, but you know, after thinking about it, it is what it is 2013 remake. Again, I was skeptical of it. I was anxious, excited, but anxious of like, are they going to pull it off? Is this going to justify its existence? And I think it does. I think especially like the look of it is eerie. It's so well directed. I mean, it made, you know, Fede Alvarez made his name with it. Went on to do like Don't Breathe, which is awesome. Did Alien Romulus a couple years ago, which is really good. Don't Breathe 2. Avoid that. Not Fede Alvarez. Does not need to exist. Kind of goes against the whole point of the original. So side note, avoid Don't Breathe 2. But the original is great if you haven't seen it. And Alien Romulus I really like. Evil Dead 2013 is still my favorite of Fede Alvarez's, though. And as I said, yeah, the setting is great. The idea of like getting a bunch of friends together and the brother to help the main character, Mia, played by Jane Levy, overcome her drug addiction is great. And she's the standout of the movie. She's one of the best characters, one of the best Deadites in the whole franchise. I did a list a few years ago for What Culture. I think it was the first list I ever did for What Culture. And if you don't know, if you're just here kind of accidentally because you saw the title and you saw Evil Dead and you're in an Evil Dead mood, in case you don't know, I do write about music. I do write about movies and video games for like Loudwire is mainly where I'm at, but What Culture, Prog Magazine, a bunch of places. So the first list I did at What Culture was the 10 scariest uses of makeup in horror. And I put Regan from The Exorcist as my number 1. That's probably always going to be number 1. But right behind it is Mia in Evil Dead 2013. I think she's terrifying looking. I mean, obviously when she's like full on Deadite in the cellar popping up to tell her brother's girlfriend not to cut her arm off, like, don't you cut it, bitch, don't you cut it. It's kind of funny, but it's really scary, I think, especially, you know, if you're younger. But even when she's in the cellar cutting her tongue with a razor, that's eerie imagery, even when she goes out into the woods. And they kind of redo the rape scene from the first one. They don't go that far with it because of all the controversy. But they imply that, I think. And even when like she sees herself with the eyes and a close-up in the weird like depth of field thing, that's eerie too. So some of the scariest makeup I think ever in horror movies with that character and some of the most brutal stuff. My big flaw with Evil Dead 2013 is the brother character, not so much because he's like a one-note shallow character, especially compared to Jane Levy as Mia. I think she like acts circles around him. I think she's great in it. And he just kind of takes away from that, but you know, not a big deal, not a major flaw. And you know, again, like I don't know, 2013 is just awesome. The ending where like it full on goes raining blood. It's raining blood. It's all red. She battles like the main demon. She kind of battles herself as the demon. It's gnarly. It's, I don't know how many hundreds of gallons of blood, but I think it's one of the most bloody scenes ever filmed. And you know, it's a good redemption arc for her. Again, like getting over the childhood trauma, getting over the drug addiction, kind of being able to make amends for her being possessed and killing her friends before her brother like buried her and then like brought her back. So it's a great like character arc for Mia. And yeah, I mean, I just love Evil Dead 2013. And then I think number 1 is what we're up to, right? Yes, number 1 is Evil Dead 2, arguably the greatest horror comedy of all time. Still feels a lot like the original Evil Dead, but of course it's, you know, it's polished, it's better acted, it's better made, better paced. And yeah, I mean, the scene with Bruce Campbell by himself, Ash by himself, kind of after we remake the opening of the original with Linda, him just kind of like losing his mind, laughing with the lamp, laughing with the moose head. Totally like Looney Tunes stuff, but it's classic. It's amazing. The direction is like some of Sam Raimi's best direction. He definitely grew as a director between 1 and 2. Um, Linda dancing, like rolling her head down her arm is awesome. Like Evil Dead 2 is so creative. It's so weird, but not like overly comedic. Like it's not as comedic as Army of Darkness, of course. It's still scary. Like there's still some horror stuff. Ash like flying through the woods and becoming a deadite, his head like buried in the swamp or the muddy water, and then like looking all scary with the white eyes under the moon when the moon comes by. Still some horror in Evil Dead 2 for sure, but it's also like a perfect balance between that and the scary stuff. And then once the other characters come in, Bobby Joe, I forget what the guy's name is, but like him and Bobby Joe, and then the woman looking for the dagger, and she's the daughter of the guy who was the excavator, the researcher who discovered all the stuff about the Deadites. Great stuff there. And then of course, it ends the giant face out of the door in the woods, like pulling Ash into the woods, and he says, "How do you stop it?" And then he gets sucked into the mystical realm or whatever, and then he gets transported to where he's going to be for Army of Darkness. Awesome ending, great cliffhanger ending, and it's Evil Dead 2. I mean, what else can you say about it? Is it the best made movie in a kind of cinematography way? Maybe not. It's not as polished as the new ones, not as scary as maybe some of the new ones, but I think ultimately it is like the Evil Dead movie. Some people say you can forget about the first one. I don't agree. I think the first one stands on its own. It's great. Even though Evil Dead 2 starts by like kind of remaking and retconning Evil Dead for better or worse. So you still need Evil Dead, but Evil Dead 2 is better in pretty much every way. And not only, I think, is it the best Evil Dead movie we're ever going to get, probably, it's one of the best horror comedies ever made, one of the best 80s horror movies. It's a masterpiece. It's Evil Dead 2. What else can you say about it? So that's my ranking. Again, just to kind of go back through it, Evil Dead Rise at the bottom, Evil Dead Burn, Evil Dead original 1981, Army of Darkness, Evil Dead 2013, and then at the top, the best Evil Dead movie is Evil Dead 2. So thanks for watching, listening, bearing with any and all of the technical issues I keep having with this stuff. Getting better at it, though, I hope. Yeah, and let me know what your ranking is. Let me know if you agree or disagree with my thoughts. Again, if you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. Got more videos coming. Going to try to do this more regularly. And yeah, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.